Hello, everybody. I'm Steve Carpenter, Chief Supply Chain Officer for Yakima Chief Hops, and here with my younger brother, Brad, which, by the way, happy birthday, Brad. I'm
Thank
not
you,
sure how
Steve.
many it is, but I'm pretty sure today's your birthday, right?
It is. I remembered about 4:30 when somebody reminded me on the road, but yeah, I'm 56 today, so getting
How
older.
many?
56.
56. I'm not sure how you passed me in age, but glad that that happened.
Yeah.
So we're here today just to talk a little bit about, I think the title of the talk is State of the Hop Industry. I'm not sure we're qualified to talk about that, but we will give you some updates on what's going on in harvest, and you can stay tuned every week for Brad and I to provide some on-the-ground updates on how harvest is going. But just to kind of frame this year, 2020, as everyone knows, I don't need to say this, was a very challenging year for us with the COVID pandemic. We decided as a company early on and way back in March that we had an opportunity in anticipation that demand might be affected by COVID and the pandemic and the lockdowns. We had a chance to adjust our acreage so that our production would be less than what we had planned in February. And doing our sourcing on a consignment basis, we were able to quickly mobilize and go out to our growers, and they were very gracious to help us reduce the number of pounds that we produced this year, just in anticipation of lower demand. So overall, the acreage in the U.S. Did, however, increase by about 2,600 acres, I believe. It's amazing to look at the makeup of the hop varieties that are in the ground. We have three varieties which we affectionately refer to as our big juicies: Citra, Mosaic, and Simcoe. Those three varieties alone totaled over 20,000 acres. In fact, almost 21,000 acres this year, which is quite remarkable. It just shows how much the industry's changed, because 10 years ago, those three varieties made up about 350 acres. So it's just, it's the U.S. growers' ability to adapt to demand. And it's always a challenge for us because, hops are an agricultural crop. We have to make our planning decisions in March based on a brewing year that doesn't start really until the following calendar year. So it's always a bit of a guess. We're glad that we made the acreage adjustments that we did. We think they're going to be fairly close to what our actual demand is based on what we've seen so far. And our wishes for our brewer customers are that this COVID pandemic is over soon, and we can get back to some sense of normalcy. So with that, I'll turn it over to Brad. And Brad, you can kind of, I know I was out over the weekend looking at hops here in the valley, but what's going on at the farm?
Well, we started harvest at our Warrior Ranches Friday in the Centennial variety and finished it up quickly, and we're on to Simcoe on Saturday. And our other family facility at Carpenter Ranches started up harvesting in Sabro on Saturday, and then we're into Simcoe today. So the quality of the hops looks great on our ranch. I'm hearing good reports from you, Steve, and others that quality looks really good. And so we're excited about the crop, and it looks like we're about on target where we should be harvesting at this point. There's always surprises that pop up during the harvest season, but for now, we're on course and we're mowing them down.
Yeah, our early reports, of course, our growers down in Oregon got started the week prior to our growers in Washington and Idaho. So they're about 10 days into harvest right now, most of them. And early reports are that quality is good, and also Centennial, Cascade, some of the earlier pick varieties are coming in at or above 5-year averages. So that's great news coming out of Oregon. As I'm driving around looking at hops here in the Yakima Valley, my guess is that probably the two challenging varieties for us right now in terms of hitting our 5-year averages on yields would be Simcoe and Mosaic. Simcoe was trained at the normal training dates. We had a cool spring, and in a lot of cases, just wasn't able to catch up. And early reports out of Idaho would indicate that as well, that Simcoe yields will be down a bit. That doesn't mean we're going to be shorting any customers. We've got contingency plans in place, but we'll be at or below, I think, 5-year averages on Simcoe. Quality is good, but driving around the valley yesterday, you can see some signs of some mite pressure here and there. Luckily, it's on early varieties, so we should be able to pick around it. But we are expecting temperatures to be in the mid to upper 90s this week, and that potentially is conducive for more mite pressure. So I think our growers have planned for that, but that's really the only quality issue or potential quality issue that I see out there. And Brad, just looking at your hops, I agree, they did look really good in the kiln. We were able to visit probably 6 or 8 farms over the weekend, and what's being picked right now looks good. It's bright, fresh, great aromas, and we anticipate quality across the board to be good again this year. What are you guys heading into next, Brad?
Well, we're in that Sabro Simcoe time period, and we'll probably be on Simcoe at one of our ranches for at least 4 or 5 more days. On the ranch here at home, we may jump into some Sabro in a couple of days back in, and then back into Simcoe. After that, one variety that looks to be on our ranch anyway a little earlier, the quality looks good, but a tandem seems to be about a week to 10 days earlier than it was last year. So we'll be taking some drying matters to determine the best harvest timing for that variety, and we may jump into that here in a week or so if we feel like we need to. Citra, other than our baby crop, which we may need to get off a little earlier, Citra looks to be normal or a little bit fresher than last year at this time for our ranch. And one variety that seems to be holding well is Mosaic also. So pretty much all varieties we have are clean, disease-free, mite-free, knock on wood. So we're pretty excited to get into them, and we might have to get into a tandem a little earlier than normal.
Yeah. I know one of the challenges that presented itself to us due to the COVID pandemic is just keeping our folks safe. And I know it's been a challenge for us here. We've got a lot of safety protocols in place that we haven't had to deal with before. And I know I get that question every once in a while from customers, how is that going? And I know just walking around the ranch and other ranches over the weekend, you can see a lot of those protocols in place. Can you just share maybe with us a little bit, Brad, what you guys are doing and how you're going about keeping folks safe?
Yeah, that's of utmost importance to us and our employees, who are very important to our business. So we definitely want to keep them safe. We've been instituted measures and protocols. One of them is everybody gets their temperature checked coming into work. And then if anybody is above temperature, we'll have them get looked at to make sure they're not carrying the virus. And if they're not, they can come back, their temperature is down. We've been doing that pretty much since the COVID crisis came to our ranch, and have had very little incidents in the past. We've also, on our harvesting out in the field, we have a unique way to do it that's a little bit different than other growers. We're actually stripping the vine out in the field. So we have employees that are kind of, at least two employees that are close to each other. We've installed plexiglass in between those two employees to separate them. But other than that, in the field and in the machines, we're instructing everybody to make sure we're staying at least 6 feet apart, and in the machine to wear, and in the field to wear some type of a mask. So.
Yeah, and obviously nobody's immune from COVID. Brad, you even had a little bit of a bout with it during the summer as well.
Yeah, I did. In the month of May, I had it it took about 17 days. I also was complicated with pneumonia that I had, I believe, prior to getting the COVID virus. So it took me about 17 days to get to feel better, stayed away from everybody. And it definitely is nothing to mess with. So glad it's over.
Good. Well, hopefully it'll be over for everybody here soon as we continue to get through this harvest and get this crop in the barn so that we can get it processed and in brew kettles all across the planet. So we're hoping the best for our customers. I know it's been tough for them as well, trying to plan out the year, and it seems like that unfortunately that long tail, those little guys that rely on a lot of draft beer to keep their businesses going, are the ones that have absorbed the brunt of the lockdowns, and it just seems like our brewers are picked on first when the politicians decide to shut something down. So hopefully we get back to a sense of normalcy very, very quick if that happens. So it's probably the other variety, Brad, and I'm not sure what things look like on your farm, but I think the other variety that could be a little bit of a challenge this year is Mosaic. I don't see that wild long sidearms that Mosaic usually gets, and there's some very good looking Mosaic yards and some that have looked good in the past that don't look quite as good.
Yeah.
What does your Mosaic look like there on the farm?
Yeah, we see a lot of spottiness, and to describe that, there's some missing hills, some replants, and it's a variety that is very it grows really well, but it does have some issues in the wintertime, we think, and so we're trying to take measures to protect the plant a little bit more. But this year, you're right, Steve, because of the cool spring, we see that the Mosaic variety didn't fill out as a vine and cover the canopy that we normally see with Mosaic in the past. So I would anticipate potentially lower yields on Mosaic this year because of that, and the spottiness or the lack of hills that are just not come back for some reason. So it is an easy variety to pick. It does well in the machine, and I don't anticipate having that type of an issue, but I think our yields will be down a bit on Mosaic this year.
Yeah. On the flip side, it appears to me Citra looks pretty good. There's always the issue with cone weight on Citra, but the vines look good. They're hopped well from top to bottom, and quality looks excellent on Citra this year. What are you guys seeing so far?
Yeah, I haven't got out and looked at a lot of Citra outside of our ranch, but our ranch, the Citra looks really good, but it could fool you. You never know what it'll do as it is baled and put into the kiln. But the vine is very healthy looking. We don't have any pressure whatsoever or stress other than a few little areas here and there. And we're kind of excited to get them off. Citra harvest will begin about the 7th or 8th of September on our ranch.
Good. The other thing we hope to do on a weekly basis too, we've got pretty good feelers into the Pacific Northwest, Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. But we also keep in pretty close tabs with our colleagues in other parts of the world. And so far it looks like Germany, who's had a string of less than stellar production years, it looks like they're having a good year. They had rainfall at the right time, and their harvest has begun. And other than potentially some isolated issues of powdery mildew and a little bit of wilt here and there, it looks like they'll have a nice crop coming out of Germany this year. Talked with some of my friends in the UK late last week, and they're harvesting Golding and Fuggles right now. As we were talking on the phone Friday, they were experiencing some buckets of rain, as they described it, and yields might be off a little bit on some of the early varieties there, but we'll try to do our best to keep you up to date on what's going on in other parts of the world that are harvesting hops this time of the year as well, which obviously means the Northern Hemisphere. So with that, Brad, I mean, you have anything else, concluding remarks for this week?
Well, the only thing I would remark on, Steve, is that in the last 7-10 years, we've been accustomed to having brewers in our facilities, and we love and enjoy that time of the year with our brewing friends, and so we miss that. So we look forward to next year and this COVID thing gets behind us and we can get back to normalcy again.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. It's bittersweet, I think, for all of us to have to do this virtual harvest. It just, we built this company on making those connections between growers and brewers, and it's a little frustrating to have to do that in a little different way this year. I guess the positive side is that we are at least contributing to reducing our carbon footprint a little bit by saving on some travel time. But certainly I know we enjoy having brewers in town and taking them to the farms, and I'm pretty sure that our motels and restaurants in Yakima appreciate that as well. So next year, hopefully we get back to a sense of normalcy. And in the meantime, we're bringing the harvest to you. So thank you for joining us, and we'll circle back around next week. And the one thing we know about harvest is things can change significantly from week to week. So until next week, we'll tune in and give you the latest news on what's going on the farms and in the industry. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.